Hello and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And I just want to start off by saying, no, we're not confused. We haven't lost track of time. We know it's not yet Halloween, and yet we're doing a trailer reaction to Scream 7, which drops on February 27th. Um, Scream is one of those franchises that I never really paid that much attention to. I'll be honest with you, I've treated it like the redheaded stepchild. It was one of those franchises that I never really put too much thought into, right? I mean, I've seen the first one. I think the first one is the one that everybody knows about. But after that, all the subsequent ones, you kind of, you kind of just put in the back of your mind. You like carry on and just go watch something else. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street,
That's fair.
Halloween, Friday the 13th. I mean, those are far more interesting because the characters are far more interesting. Whereas here, Ghostface, apparently it was two dudes, who I guess had nothing better to do than to go around knifing people. But you would think that, once Wes Craven kind of like tapped out and was like, I can't do any more of this shit, the franchise would kind of just like fade away like a ghost. But no, they've pumped out three more since Wes Craven bowed out, and we are getting this time Scream 7. And even more surprisingly, Neve Campbell has decided, you know what, I've still got more left in the tank. I think I might give it another go, along with Courtney Cox, who, since Friends ended in 2004, has been trying to find a way to, what shall we say, try to stay relevant.
Stay relevant, yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Because like every other project she's done has been pretty forgettable. Yeah, so really, like, besides Friends, this is the only other franchise that's kind of kept her, in the spotlight, along with David Arquette, whom we haven't seen in what, 15 years or so. But Lee, have you always been a fan of the Scream franchise, or have you kind of pushed it in the back of your mind like me?
No, I thoroughly, well, okay, I really like the first one, right? I think the first one is great. I think kind of that reveal of, like you said, there's actually two killers. They're kind of like back and forth banter. I think Matthew Lillard did such a good job as like Stu Macher, right? I always love like just kind of their kind of like rapport that they have, as this kind of duo, and it's obviously very, I would say the first one sticks out, and there's a lot of kind of in between, right? I think it's always been kind of fun for me just because of what it is, but that first one really sticks out of my head as far as just a really kind of fun thing. And I think that because it plays like a lot on tropes, I think that kind of adds kind of that fun element, right? Because, me and you obviously watch a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies. So like they kind of, it feels very much like a big fourth wall break when they're talking about like, oh, this is what normally happens in horror films, and this is normally what happens. And it's kind of fun to be like, okay, like it's not trying to take the piss out of itself. It knows what it's about. And it just tries its best to kind of do something a little bit different than you're expecting. So I've always had fun with them, but obviously their how good they are has varied wildly over time.
Well, another thing too. I mean, because when you compare it to its contemporaries, right? In the slasher genre, right? It was unique in the fact that the villains were human and that they weren't exactly the kind of people you would expect that they would be, right? Because Michael Myers, for instance, we know who he is. He's this mysterious figure. Is he really a guy, or is he just a cosmic force who just keeps coming back and wearing that distorted mask, right? Same with Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger, right? These are killers with a supernatural streak about them who go about doing these things, and even when they're defeated, it's like, well, they didn't really go away. They just kind of like fade into the darkness, and then they'll come back in the sequel or the sequel after that, right? Whereas here, it's like they kind of mix things up a bit. They kind of take that same trope that we see in other slasher movies where the killer never really goes away, but he wears a different face, right? I mean,
yeah, and it kind of feels too, right? It spawns like so many of those other films of this genre, right? I think about like I Know What You Did Last Summer, right? Which just had a sequel come out within the past year, which I watched as well. But it does, kind of show like how much prominence it had at the time, and spawned, other film franchises because of what it is. So
Yeah.
definitely, I would say it's definitely iconic. I mean, just thinking back to, kind of the original one, and you don't really know what to expect, and you bring in a big actress, right, to come in as Drew Barrymore, and then she gets. I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil this for people that haven't seen it yet. Drew Barrymore gets killed in the beginning, right, and that was, I think, a shocker for a lot of people, right. So I think that that's such a cool thing that it did, where it brings in these characters. You're like, oh, yeah, she's going to live. It's Drew Barrymore. She's a big actress. And then to have her die within the first 5 minutes of it, it's like, oh, damn, nobody's safe in something like this. I think kind of added a very, kind of cool aura about what the film was going to be. And anybody could be killed at any time.
I mean, it's also unique too in the fact that the fact that you didn't really know who the villain was, right? We knew it was Ghostface, but you didn't really know who was behind the mask. Whereas everyone else is like, oh, Freddy Krueger was just some rando, I guess, groundskeeper who had the misfortune of getting charred, and now he's this twisted guy with a very itchy sweater, right? Whereas here it's like it kind of they keep shifting the goalposts, so you never really know what's going on. But in defying tropes and creating its new trope, it kind of fell into the same trap as all the other franchises too. So that's the big mistake that a lot of these things make, because had it just stayed that one and done thing, I think it would have been like an instant classic, and people would kind of put it up there as like one of the highlights of the horror genre. But because it kept going on, and people decided, I'd rather be a horror for money than have artistic integrity. Well, now you start to wonder, well, what's going to make this any different from its predecessors?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at Scream 7 and see if well, I mean, to ask if Neve Campbell's going to survive is a bit of a understatement at this point.
Hey, they killed Dewey last time, right?
Yeah, true, but but it's one of those things where it's like, how many movies can they make to kind of work their way to the point where they decide, Neve Campbell, we thank you for your service, but it's time for you to go.
Can't believe we're staying at the Psycho Killer B&B.
Oh, that's so cool. It's a motion detector.
I didn't find it fun to going back to the OG house, right?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney. Did you miss me? Nice little town you found. You and your pretty daughter. Reminds me of where we grew up.
Well, you sure know a lot about me for another asshole hiding behind a voice changer.
Oh, I'm not hiding, Sydney. Not this time.
Down to the end.
Holy shit! Like, this reminds me a lot of Halloween, where Laurie Strode basically sets up traps all over the house to finally kill Michael Myers, dude.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Hey, I mean, if you do have this person chasing after you, I feel like, it constantly happens. I feel like you're going to change up how you want to do things to avoid this.
Yeah, especially when the daughter is involved, right?
Yeah. What would you put your face next to it? Are you not sure that you're hearing something?
I want to be a fighter, like you. If you hurt her...
I'm not going to hurt her until you're here to see it.
Let's unmask this fucker.
All your friends died.
One more F died
for
and
just being near you.
Yeah.
Where is my daughter?
His head up next to the wall, and I'm like,
Tatum, listen to me. He's trying to find another way in. We're gonna do this together. You're gonna have to shoot him through the wall.
Where
to the right of the door. Shoot him now! Do it now! Oh, you got him. He's dead. You need to make sure you shoot him in the head.
That's why you get shoot in the head. See, she understands it. Right?
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know in some form, right? Stu Macher is returning for this, and that's the Matthew Lillard character.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how this is all going to tie in with, I guess, everything else that's out there. Kind of weird to think that there's so much Scream lore out there because there's been so many killers over time. But it is, like I said, I want to check it out. Right? It's the 7th one. You have to kind of just see what happens. These are characters.
Do you are no? Let's be honest here. Do you want to see if it's really Stu Macher under that mask?
I do. There's a piece of me that wants to see are they going to bring back Matthew Lillard to be the villain again. That definitely plays a factor into it. The fact that I know he's attached to it somehow, it does make me a little bit interested. Especially after, all the, Five Nights at Freddy's, where we're getting a little bit more of Matthew Lillard. He's been kind of oddly in there quite a bit recently, with just kind of like his name being dropped. He was also, he got panned by, was it Quentin Tarantino, who like totally made fun of him on a podcast and like ever came to his defense. So it's really weird. I think Matthew Lillard's kind of got like this kind of like, people just want to like the guy, and I think that he's a very likable guy, and then like he just kind of gets thrown under the bus from time to time. Yeah, I just there is that level of curiosity where we've seen more of these characters. They brought in some different characters, kind of in this, I guess, reboot, right? Where they kind of have these kind of a mix of old and new characters involved in it. I know, unfortunately, I think like Jenna Ortega is not going to be a part of it. I don't remember. I think it might have been like just a timing issue. But it will be, like I said, interesting to see. And, I'm going to check it out at some stage. Not going to quite say I'm committed to go see it in theaters, but whenever it ggets released to streaming, I'll be all over that.
Well, I definitely do want to review it for our October schedule. Because
There we go.
Yeah, because I'm already starting to lay out like what we're doing for October, and Scream 7 is one of them. Just because I'm hoping, and I'm gonna sound terrible for saying this, I'm hoping that this kind of wraps things up, right? I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Because if it really is Stu Macher, it would be a nice way to kind of like bring everything full circle, right? It started with Stu Macher. Like I would even like if somehow like I wouldn't even say like if it's not even Stu Macher, it's someone who's like tied to Stu Macher, right?
Yeah.
Someone who like followed the case like pretty closely and decided in some deranged way, I'm gonna wear the mask of Ghostface. I'm gonna go out and do all these crazy ass killings. It would be pretty interesting. Plus, the guy who does the voice of Ghostface. I mean, he came back to do that, as you just heard in the trailer right there. So it just makes you wonder, like, just how much are they going to be pulling all the stops to bring us something that hopefully will, finally bring this franchise to its conclusion. Like I said, it really reminds me of Laurie Strode when she kind of like went full Rambo on Michael Myers.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't kind of go the route of like what they did with the sequel or whatever you want to call for the I Know What You Did Last Summer, where you find out that Freddie Prinze Jr. was actually like the villain, which, I mean, hey, that's ballsy to do, right? You bring a guy that was, kind of the hero early on, you make him the villain, that takes a lot of guts. It'd be like,
but that's a cop-out, like,
of course, it was weird. Yeah, it was obviously weird. So hopefully it doesn't do that where all of a sudden it's like, Courtney Cox went crazy, right, as Gail Weathers, and she's a part of it, and you just like, you have this like weird showdown between the two. So, like I said, there's a lot of things that can kind of happen with it. You don't know. I don't remember what exactly's happened with Billy Loomis's character, right, over all this time. I know, like, he's showed up in some of the previous titles because he has, like, kind of this familial relationship with one of the characters. But yeah, it's got enough interest for me where, you know, I've been kind of invested in it very, very loosely, but enough to be interested to see what they do with it. And I do agree with you. At a certain stage, you're on film number 7. I think it's a franchise that you can kind of put it to bed and not have to rehash or go through all these characters over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where at some point you kind of finally have to say, well, we've done all that we could with it. There really is nothing else we can do unless we want to keep rehashing the whole slasher comes to town and starts killing people, because that hasn't been done before in any other franchise. But February 27th, ladies and gents, that's when it comes out. So that is something to look forward to. And if you're interested in seeing Scream 7, let us know down in the comments below. We'd love to get your thoughts. And this is a movie that we are definitely going to be putting in the books for, or in the schedule for October of 2026. So make sure you subscribe so you're in the loop. And other than that, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next review.